Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inspired Sovereignty Radio. Today, I have a guest, and I'm really excited that we're going to do interview style. We're going to see what flows. So, today, we're going to talk about embodiment, and you'll be able to see this on YouTube. You'll be able to listen on any of the podcast apps that you use. And so we just want you to like, subscribe, share, because I bet this conversation will be great for other people that you know too. Today, I have Makenna Baum, and I'll say more about her, and we're going to talk about embodiment. So embodiment is something that kind of it's like a hot topic right now.
Totally, yeah.
Buzzword. So, and then I'm like, okay, this is something that I want to experience myself. So I'm super excited that we're going to talk about this. It's something that I'm leaning into and learning more about contextually and just how do we do this? And I know that you have some really great answers on this and you're rolling with it. And so I want to say first, welcome, McKenna. And I want to say how I want to tell everybody how we met. So we met at a retreat through the water, so living water, and I remember the big waterfall. You know the big waterfall where
Yeah,
everybody got electrified.
I remember the big waterfall.
And I remember seeing you sitting next to Jesse, and I mostly was interacting with Jesse at that time. But then the next day we went to the little waterfall? Was it the next?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I remember the little waterfall and all of us just together experiencing that beautiful, innocent, sweet, powerful waterfall together. And that's when we connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember?
I do. I totally do. I even have pictures. I have pictures of you on my phone still, of just you.
Yeah. Yep. So that was just, I mean, it was a really special weekend in and of
Mm.
itself, very sacred. I remember you speaking and just your presence.
Mm.
So I'm really excited that you're here.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited we get to flow together and talk about embodiment. I say that very seriously and talk about embodiment.
Embodiment.
Embodiment. I want to read this little intro here about you. Makenna Baum, you can find her at Instagram at emerald.earth.empress. She is a spiritual activator, a guide, mentor, and an embodiment coach. See, embodiment, there it is. McKenna's work brings the multi-dimensional into the here and now, connecting spiritual insight and quantum mechanics back into the body. And we were just talking about that. Through one-on-one sessions and group containers, Makenna invites you into embodying your authentic expression and welcoming more ease, play, and presence into your life. I love that. And play is what really stands out to me too, because I know that about you. Just even you when you're expressing yourself, it's so light and beautiful and playful. Like serious and conscious, but there's this like really light, beautiful playfulness about you that I really.
Thank you for that. Wow. I appreciate that.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
About myself, yeah. First of all, I want to say that retreat totally was magical. And I think we were like, your bedroom was
Yeah.
next to mine or two down from mine. So I feel like we like passed each other a couple of times. And then, yeah, that really special little waterfall that totally like, I don't know, woke something up in me. It was just, yeah, that was a really cool experience. Um, Yeah, so a little bit about me. So yeah, I've come to this point in my journey of embodiment, and it's very interesting to kind of like look back. it always feels silly to be like, I've been on my spiritual journey for this long because, like, I feel like our whole life is a spiritual journey, you know? I feel like everything could be added to my spiritual journey. But I really like, I guess, like, committed to my spirituality, which to me meant like committing to like listening to my intuition and like starting to tune into my like psychic gifts and just like coming into this, I suppose, like multi-dimensional space. Like that's sort of like where I started. I know spirituality can mean a lot of different things. That's sort of like what it means to me. Um, I started coming into that in about 2018, and can I just like can we just go deep like right away?
Let's go
Are we
deep,
just, we're
please.
just gonna go into it. Okay. This will answer your question, I guess, too. We're gonna get there. Yeah, so when I started in 2018, I feel like I'm bringing this up because my journey to get to embodiment really like started with my spirituality, and like that's sort of like where, yeah, that is sort of my story. That is kind of like where I come from, I guess. Yeah, so in 2018 when I like really was like diving into spirituality, I feel like it was very like it was kind of like peak like new age time where it's like everyone was like trying to astral project or just like Reiki was like all the rage. Like that was the only way I'd ever heard of energy healing was through Reiki. And it was very like I want to say like ethereal, like very like airy and kind of like ungrounded. Um, and I think that just, I feel that it kind of had to be that way at that time. Like these are frequencies that like didn't really exist in a physical way as much as they maybe do now. But at that time, like even at the beginning of my journey, um, I just felt like there was like a piece that was missing. It was like I was learning about all this stuff and it was like very like cerebral. Like I felt like I understood it, but there was like this other element and I came to understand it as like, it's like we're talking the talk, like walk the walk now, like okay, we're talking about all these things like I had an instructor who would share about things, but then I was like, okay, but like you're not really like doing that in your day-to-day life. Like, there was this sort of missing element.
Yes.
And yeah, which definitely, I mean, we definitely still see that, I think, as everybody is like, we're all figuring everything out, We don't have it all figured out right away. Um, but yeah, that sort of like propelled me forward. And I just like identified it as like the body, the body, the body. I was like, there's something about the body. I don't know what it is. Like, I was like, maybe I want to work with the body, and that's what it is. Um, and yeah, just like as I've continued on, like, that's what I've come to understand is like, okay, how can I get all of this like multi-dimensional quantum like crazy, you could just like lose your mind over it stuff. Like there's a way that all of this can be like grounded and can like be, to me, feels like can be relevant to like what's happening here and now. Because like it's fun to like sit and talk about, what's happening on the realms far away, but like it doesn't really mean anything if like it can't, what is that doing to like our reality right now though. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like my background, I guess, was like very like all up here, and it's just been this like process of coming back into the body, and yeah, I'm so glad that you like highlighted the playful side too, because I feel like things can get so serious,
Yeah.
especially like we're going through some crazy times right now, and I know I've heard Ivy talk about before, like the spiritual warfare and like there's just like crazy shit happening on like every level. And I think it's so easy to just like feel really overwhelmed about all of it. And yeah, yeah. Me too. Like definitely like can get caught up in it. But it doesn't like I feel like it doesn't, we don't always have to transmute things in a serious way. I feel like play and laughter are really powerful tools that kind of get overlooked. So Yeah, the playfulness is just it's just got to be there because it's just who I am, you know?
Yes. I mean that is so that really speaks to me because seriousness is in my gene keys too. I tend to be very serious because I need to get it done. I need to understand. I need to know it all, blah, blah, blah. And then I just totally miss the point.
Mm,
Totally miss it because I'm just so driven. So
hmm.
I want more of that playfulness and embodiment. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's the presence too, right? Because I do something similar where it's like I want to just like check the box that I've done something, you know, like I'll be like, oh great, like I just, you know, I've been working really hard to expand in this way and it'll happen. And then it's just like, okay, what's the next thing? Like, where are we going next? And I have to like remind myself, like, you know, look around, you know, take a second to be like, wow, I've actually grown a lot. Like, let's have some gratitude. Yeah, it's easy for me as well to get like swept up in that, the speed.
Mhm. And then plus you just have your life stuff happening at the same time. And so
Mhm.
all the things, all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Life. So more like so yeah. And we'll talk more about how you can find McKenna at the end and we'll have all the show notes, we'll have all the links and stuff like that. But let's get into some more. Let's go more, deeper.
Okay. Even deeper. Okay. Well, let's just like okay, I would love to know from you what does embodiment mean to you?
Mhm. So and this is super external for me, okay, because I don't know what I haven't figured out what I'm embodying. You know what I mean? Am I embodying this or not? I don't know. So the when I see embodiment,
Yeah.
uh, it is flowing with life as it is, uh, presence, like being present in the moment, no pretense, no walls, no fakeness,
Mm.
just a real authentic self coming through. Me, it also is like the holding of space for whatever moment you're in, whoever you're in front of, or whatever group you're in front of. So that's like that external piece. I think
Yeah.
internal piece, it would be bigger breath, more breath. For me, it would be more breath, more impeccability with my words, a more centeredness, a groundedness, a yeah presence, like a deep presence, the ability to meet whatever's coming at me,
Mm.
whatever in the moment is coming toward me, to meet it with an open heart,
Mm.
open mind, and like my backbone completely activated and on.
Mm. I love that. I like that that reflection of like what embodiment looks like. Like when you see somebody else who you feel like is embodied, like what that feels like. That's interesting to it's interesting to think about it from that perspective. I feel like just the way that I operate, and I'm always curious like how does this have to do with my human design? How much of this is all is all intertwined? I'm a 5/1 generator in human design for anybody who cares to know. Sacral authority. And the one is the investigator, and it's very like internal. So that's like what are your numbers?
I am a generator 3-5, and I've had my experience with Vita, and I've gone through all that, and it still was like whoosh whoosh. Whoosh. I'm more of a Gene Keys girl because the poetry
Yeah.
and the just the way it sort of melds into my life, because the science of human design is still kind of
Yeah.
it's simple, but then for some reason I make it really difficult.
Hmm. I feel that. I'm definitely I feel like the gene keys are a bit easier for me to digest also. It's a little I don't know what it is. I'm just like starting to pick up more about human design and just like I'm just always like, is this in my chart? Like I'm just always curious how it shows up. Um Also interesting. I have a lot of 3/5s in my life, so that's that's kind of funny to hear your 3/5 also. I was just curious because I think that I noticed like when I asked you the question like what is embodiment and like the way that my mind works is I'm thinking like what is my like internal experience of embodiment. So that was just like interesting to hear you like kind of talk about it from the outside because it's not often my mind doesn't often go that way. But I agree with like, everything that you said about like the presence and um yeah, I feel especially with what you were sharing about like showing up authentically and like not wearing like a mask, and being able to like respond with openness, which I feel like it runs along the same line of like not wearing a mask, right? Because you're not like responding from a program or just like it's not like a reaction, you're actually like taking it in and like synthesizing like how do I want to respond to this rather than just like yeah, this immediate reaction. And I want to this just came to mind as you were talking, so I want to like bring this in here. I feel like in its simplest form, the way that embodiment feels to me, like on the inside, like experiencing it myself, is acceptance
Mm.
and is like self acceptance. Like, I think we can like get into we can kind of expand on that and get into the other details, but I think like to me in its simplest form, to be embodied is to be like totally accepting of my expression. So for example, like showing up on this podcast, right? And I hear those voices and it's like, you should have said it like this, or, you kind of get this like criticizing voices. And like a practice of embodiment is being like, whatever happened in the moment was perfect.
Mm.
Because if something else was meant to happen, it would have happened. So like let me fully like accept my expression in that way. And like let me not like stress out or feel like I can't trust myself in the moment, like I need to prepare, oh my gosh, but instead be like fully accepting of however I show up, like that is our unique expression
Mm.
coming out in the moment.
Yes, I've got tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like I think it's a lot more simple. And actually, I think that I had a lot of resistance to sort of like going down this path with like my work and my business because I think it's so simple. It's almost like it was too easy. I'm like, what? People don't even need to know about this. Like this is just who is gonna want to learn about this? It needs to be all like technical. But like really it's just like letting ourselves be ourselves. And I think the part where it's not simple is like working through all of those programs that kind of get in the way, that like when you've lived a life, I would say we all have lived a life or part of a life where like there's programming, there's like societal programming or just the way you were raised or, even just in like in our bloodlines, just like basically like habits that we've just like carried. Like that's the challenging part, I think, is like being in a moment like this, where it's like you hear that critical voice and you're like, well, I could respond by being like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful, or there's something wrong, or I need to change something about myself. Or, you take that moment to be like, no, I'm just like, this is okay. I'm good. Like it's like those little tweaks, I feel like is what brings you into it.
So, like little course corrections when you notice that you're
Yeah.
self accepting.
Yeah. Yeah. I go ahead.
I was like, okay, so what you're telling me is I cannot pick up a book, read it, and just like, act it out. That's not embodiment because that's like learning something, taking something in, but until it becomes a practice coupled with the self-acceptance, it's not embodiment. It's just trying things on, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what came to me because I'm a serious book junkie, right? For so long, and I read these books and I'm like, okay, now, oh, that sounds beautiful. That's amazing. That's how I want to be. Okay, well then I got to practice it. Okay, and then I kick myself in the ass because I screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like the way that I look at like self-help books or just like any sort of like teaching, I feel like it's helpful to like view it as like poetry or art. Like it's just like it's like they're trying to communicate like a feeling and like a state of being that like can't be put into words because it's different for every single person. So like this is kind of how I feel about like the Bible too, or like religious texts. It's like they've done their best to like create a story that will ignite like a feeling in you, you know? So like you just said like reading that book and you're like, "Yeah, I want to feel like that." It's really like this feeling that I have in my body, like I want this, but like all the time, you know? Like and it's just sort of like a mirror, like reflected that back to you. Um but yeah, I feel like we can be a little bit less technical, I guess, or like I think we get really like caught up in like, well, they said in order for me to achieve enlightenment, I have to meditate every single day for 30 days. And it's like, well, like yes, that may bring you to it, but it's not even necessarily like the meditation. Like maybe it was just the consistency. Or maybe it's just that like it's asking you to like self-reflect, you know, like it's I just feel like all of everything is so much more like squishy than we like to think it is.
I'm so glad you're saying that. I'm learning so much just listening and just like feeling everything that you're bringing forward. I'm just okay, okay, let go.
Yeah.
Let go. You don't have to hold on so tight. You don't have to try so hard. Trying is what it is anyway, but it's like let go of the way you think it should be.
Yeah.
I should be like how I think I should be. That's it's like I want all the things, but like you said, it's a mirror. It's a reminder. A lot of times, you feel that reminder. It's like I'm reading something and I'm remembering that about myself.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
carrying that forward and keeping on remembering.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. I feel like that letting go piece is like really powerful.
Yeah. Constriction is also in my gene keys.
What's the city of the constriction?
Universal,
Do you know?
universal love. And the gift is acceptance.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just writing about it the other day too and flowing with it. And
Yeah.
I love books and I love text and I love listening and hearing and I love those sacred reflections and I love those being mirrored back to me and those remembrances.
Mhm.
And then you put down the book and you walk back into life and then it's like ah
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like though I just had a thought as you're talking like it's not it's not that we like don't need the books. Like I feel like, sometimes those books, if it's like maybe you go back into your life and it's like it's not like fully integrated yet. But then you can like keep coming back to that book and like having that reminder of that feeling and it's like each time you're feeling into it, it's like that is part of embodying it, right? Like that is like anchoring it. Like you could look at it from a very technical perspective, and it's like, there's like a flood of chemicals and like rewiring of your brain that's happening each time you have that moment where you're like, yes, like this feels good. I want this for my life. Like it is like restructuring things for you. And I mean, I think it shows up differently for everybody. Like, some people may be led to make really big changes in their life in order to integrate that. And other times you might just like all of a sudden have a moment in your day and be like, wow, I was really present for that, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When when you're working with someone,
Yeah.
you what does that look like when you're an embodiment coach? Can I ask that? Is that like
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, it's so I'm finding that the way that I show up is like so like in flux right now. Like I think it's changing for me. This is my hesitancy. Is I'm like, well, it's all changing. So let me think about it. Um and because I this piece of embodiment, I feel like I want to be like transparent about this. Like this piece of embodiment has been present like for me for a long time, and like I've used this language, but like the way that I'm showing up with it is different. Is like I'm still kind of like figuring out what that looks like, like even saying embodiment coach, I feel like there's a lot of ideas of like there's a lot of people who call themselves embodiment coaches. And so there's like a lot of ideas of what that would look like. So for example, a lot of embodiment coaches, might just really be like a sexuality coach, and like that's just kind of like the angle they're taking with it. And so I'm finding my little niche and how to like I'm asking people to come into acceptance and presence of themselves, and like kind of like I was just saying with the book, it's like I can't like teach that
yeah.
to somebody, and like I think a big element of the teaching is just like me being in my own embodiment and like literally letting like my energy speak for itself. Just like I notice for myself personally, I learn a lot when I'm around people who've like embodied something or doing something that like is really inspiring to me, or that like I'm striving for, like just being in their presence, like I'm sure it's energy, right? It's like it's changing something in me. So I want to preface it with saying that I feel like it's changing, and also I just think, as we like progress through time, there's like different energies that are available. Like we noted at the beginning, like it is kind of a buzzword right now. Like I've seen so many people, like it feels like out of nowhere on my Instagram, everybody is using the word embodiment, and I'm like, this is so something's happening. Like we're coming into to seeing the importance of this, or it's gonna start like I think it's gonna keep changing is what I'm getting at. But to answer your question in a more straightforward way, my sessions, like my one-on-one sessions, it's basically like an hour long like guided meditation is how it's been coming through. So I used to do like just a focus on like quantum energy healing, and there is like some energy being moved, but the session is really like me guiding you into a place where like your nervous system is calm, like you're in a place of just like peace and groundedness and presence. And then however I'm guided, however source guides me to move forward, I will probably like basically guide you to move the energy. So, for example, I had a session recently where I was guiding somebody to feel like a warm light moving from their chest outwards. And then there's been a lot of messages coming through around that like self-acceptance, and just like I think a lot of us are moving out of these like healing loops of like, like not knowing when you're done healing. Yeah. And so that's what's been coming through a ton, is just, it comes through different for every person. So, and where it's stored energetically in the body. So, I would say like the themes that come up is a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, but but it hits different when it's tuned into like how it applies to you specifically. And then it is sort of like a rewiring or, like getting a taste of that feeling for the first time of like be self-accepting or, loving yourself or whatever it is, stepping into your bigness. Those are some of the themes that have come up. Then it's like, then you got a little bit of it or you're like really feeling into it and you can kind of like, the point is like for you to be able to get there yourself.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And because I am not here to have people continue to come back to me, which I feel like sounds kind of weird. Like, I don't want you to be dependent on me. I want you to be like your own person and like I'm here to remind you, but ultimately like I want you to like get the tools that you need so that you can keep like growing and doing your thing because that ultimately is like what supports all of us.
Yes. Yes. That makes so much sense. I remember I went to a quantum healing hypnosis and I was like, okay, so do I come back in 2 weeks? And she's like, no, that was it. And I was like, oh, so I have to take what I learned and apply it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that for me? Okay.
You're like, but it was so nice when you just did it though.
Yeah, but that makes sense because you can't embody it if you're not embodying it.
Yeah.
You're not taking it on as your own responsibility.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and it takes time too. Like I am continually reminded of I want to say like how slow I am. Like that I'm continually asked to come into more slowness. Like I'll be like, "Oh, I just learned this thing. Like I got it. I've embodied it. Like I'm good." And then it's like, "No, it actually like don't just go on to the next thing. Like you actually haven't really understood, like I kind of visualize it as like I get it mentally and then it's like it's seeping down into the rest of my body still, like my body's still playing catch up with this new like frequency. Um
Well, yeah, because our because our chemicals are changing when
yeah,
we're doing different things, and so just the re-upping each time, the feeling those chemicals, feeling those feelings, having all that over and over and over again, then it like
yeah,
embeds. Then
yeah.
it
Isn't it so cool like how physical this is? Like I really see it like that. And that's actually been coming through super clear lately is like it is literally like you're waiting for like your body to produce new chemicals so that you can enter into like this different state of being and like our body is in the third dimension, so it takes some time for these things to happen.
so much wisdom and codes in what you're saying too, just so much. What else?
Well, I think what's something that I feel like is cool about this, what we're talking about with embodiment is that like everybody gets to have this experience. Like it feels like very accessible. Like how I was saying, it's like very simple. It's like something that you don't need like you don't need like training, I guess, to figure out how to embody. It could be helpful to get some sort of training if your mind wants to like understand what's going on. Like I need to understand. I like to understand what's happening, so I'll go down every single rabbit hole, and then I'm like, oh, cool. Now I know what's going on, so I can just let it happen. Um, but like, I mean, I'm just thinking like even people who are I don't know how to categorize like new to spirituality or not even like into spirituality, like any person can like have this experience of coming into like self acceptance and coming into presence. And like, I think that there's been many different ways that this process has been described, like this sort of like unlearning and like rewiring, like you could take like a psychology approach to it. I feel like there's very like esoteric or like ancestral sort of ways of looking at it, like which to me when something is like that universal, it feels like it's got to be true, or like there's got to be something to it if like everybody is coming to this.
Yes, for sure. When you, I'm just gonna throw this out there. When
Okay.
you think about embodiment and then couple it with water and our
Yeah.
body, can you speak into that?
Okay, so I feel like one piece of this is that when you are when you say like I am embodying this or like I'm coming into embodying it, I feel like part of that like physiological process is our waters like okay, okay, so this is my thought on like water and frequency. I believe that water is the physical vessel, is the vessel that holds spirit in physical reality, basically. And like water is like the start of all of it. So, you think about like a baby gestating, it's like it literally just starts out as like water and like minerals, and it like becomes something. And so when we are like, this is how I see like the process of embodiment. It's like you like learn a new bit of information or you like receive maybe like a higher frequency and then like you kind of like take that frequency in. I feel like it's like your waters are like taking in this frequency and then your waters have to like communicate with the rest of the body. Like then the waters are like communicating to your DNA like, okay, we need to create this or change this structure in order to like because our bodies are perfect, right? Our bodies are coming into perfectly matching the frequency that we're holding because that's what water does. It's a perfect manifestation of spirit, of frequency. Um yeah, so there's that element of it of like just communicating with your body. How does that make you feel? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, because well, when you were saying like the frequency, like it hits your water first, and then your water's restructuring to the
Yeah.
frequency, then it's talking to the rest of your body, so it's restructuring your body. Um, I mean, to me, that's first step. Wouldn't it be
Mhm.
first step embodiment?
Mhm.
The restructuring of you
Yeah.
in your body. I love the technology of being human. I love the technology of humanness, our mind, our bodies, all that stuff, and just how it all like shoot, it all works together. I love it.
Me too. We're freaking amazing. It blows my mind every day.
And then learning about water because I just started with the water not this past February but the February before. So
Yeah.
I'm learning more about water and I'm learning more about even like you said being in the womb and
Mm-hmm.
the lineage, the ancestral traumas,
Mm.
the lineage, whether it be trauma or even not a trauma, I mean, there's
Mhm.
trauma, all those codes that are embedded into that little water body that's in there,
Yeah.
structuring it, that's growing into something that's coming out of our body, our blood is structuring that, our water structuring that. I mean, I've had 4 children, so, I've structured some babies. I wish I had known. Now, I said this earlier today. I wish I had known what I know now about water, about trauma, about ancestral lineage, about healing bloodlines, about embodiment then 30 years ago when I was pregnant with my first kid, knowing that I could impact him in a way that is just beyond the brain comprehension, really. And then also breaking those generational curses, breaking that ancestral trauma, then would have ultimately produced different results, and then we might not be dealing with certain things that we're dealing with now. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally. And you could also look at from the perspective of like, well, maybe they were meant to carry that if you want to call it like ancestral trauma. Maybe they were meant to carry those memories and there's a reason why you didn't transmute them because it's for them to transmute, or maybe it's for their children to transmute.
Wow, yeah. Wow. Yeah, and being like the the peacekeeper, like growing up kind of the peacekeeper and stuff in my family and just wanting harmony for people. And that's like, that's what brings me to services. I really want to help people find harmony in their lives. And then it's like so then I see disharmony in, family or wherever. And I just, there's a level of responsibility I'll take on to myself, like,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
I could have done it different. And then also, like you said, just like what we said, and that brings me so much peace. It's like, we stepped into our lives with our contracts, our soul's purpose, and it may be, well, likely it is completely and utterly different from what the mind is thinking it should be,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Hmm.
and like what I think it should be for each one of my children and my grandson, and then my grandkids coming, and how I think it should be, and how healed they should be in my mind is only
Yeah.
in my mind, and that's just the energetic thing that I'm holding. That has nothing to do with what they came here to do. I don't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I'm just part of the experience and expression.
Hmm. Yeah, something that I've been I guess like coming to terms with or just trying to like understand a bit more is this idea that and Richard Rudd talks about this a lot in the Gene Keys. Um I just got totally distracted thinking Paul Rudd because yesterday I said Paul Rudd and then I was like, no, Richard Rudd, and now I can't stop thinking about Paul Rudd now. Is that our shadows, it's like our shadow is, like the thing that propels us into the gift and the siddhi, like the shadow is the gift, and like I think I felt like a lot of resistance to it, or just I think it's something to really like contemplate and come into like own understanding about. But like in terms of like just like going off of this example, it's like maybe one of your children was carrying a memory that was in your water body that is something ancestrally traumatic, or was like a shadow, but like maybe that shadow as it comes out through them, like that's like the fire that they needed in order to like evolve and expand in the way that they needed to in this life. And maybe not even like just for themselves, but like I think that there's something about this like process of expansion and like restructuring, I guess, that that affects the whole collective. It's not just like, oh, I'm carrying this frequency of acceptance. It's like it's almost like when we go through this process of like healing a shadow, it's like you've created this like energetic instruction manual of like how to get from shadow to like acceptance, and like that's in the collective too. It's like you've made this like process available to other people so that they can heal their thing. Like I mean, I feel like you can just keep going, but I find that is very like comforting, especially like looking around when it's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of darkness around. There's a lot of like real shit things that are happening that like I don't have any way to explain, and often try not to understand because it just like hurts. It just feels impossible, like why would bad things happen? And I feel like this idea of, I've been sitting with like this idea that like life is an experience, life is an adventure, like it's not good or bad, it's just like maybe part of the experience that we're here to have is this like transmutation process, is this like healing process. And like it may like feel bad in the moment, like we see all the darkness, but like maybe all this darkness is because like we're meant to go through this like exhilarating process of like healing that, like the phoenix of like healing that and coming out, and like that's the experience that we're here for, and like we're just seeing this one part of it right now.
That makes sense. And the other thing about that is we can't really fully know.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what are you going to do with not knowing? You go, you do, you embody, you know? And that's why it's so important, in my opinion, so important to do your own personal work.
Yeah.
Inside to go inside to go inside. I've like I said, a book girl, and I've always looked outside and I've always felt outside of myself. And so I'm learning more and more about what it feels like to go inside, to not stifle whatever's coming up, to just feel it, feel it, feel it. Because I
Yeah.
can't know everything. I can't know exactly what God's got going on.
Yeah.
It's not my job to know. It's not my right to know. It's my job, or my purpose is to be here to do my own personal
Yeah.
upgrade, to send it out into the universe so that other people can pick up on it, just like you said.
Yeah. I like resonate. I resonate with that so much because I'm like a recovering, I don't want to say control freak, but I just like I found a sense of safety in being able to control things, and not that other people, I don't even know if other people always saw that about me, but it was just something I always had going on the inside. And like it's definitely it was a challenging process for me to like surrender control and be like, just like you're saying, I don't know. I'm maybe not even supposed to know. And I've even gotten to the point of like, do you even want to know? Like, wouldn't life be boring if you had all the answers? Like, you don't even want that. Um, yeah, that letting go of control is a big one. But I feel like I think like we're all trying to, or maybe not all of us, I don't want to generalize, but we're trying to get to a point of being in that space of surrender, because I think that you can find like a lot of peace there. It's like, I don't have to do this, and I'm choosing to trust that like everything is under control. Everything is perfect.
Yeah. And it's how you show up with whatever's happening anyway. Yeah. I learned how to do a process called a surrender process, and you literally lay on your back, open your heart, and just start talking, and just like, I surrender, and you just keep going and keep going. And my full experience of it was when I was complete, and I thought I was going to drown. I was like, I'm going to drown.
Yeah.
There's no way I can handle this much. There's no way. And then I did. I handled it. I handled it all. And in fact, I did not drown in my snot. My sinuses were completely clear because I let everything come, you know? And
Yeah.
when I was complete, I felt so beautifully cleaned out and empty.
Mm.
I mean, just like was, I remember the day after I did this, I just kept saying, I'm an empty vessel. I'm an empty vessel, so I can be used now. I can be used now. But I remember the next day, my daughter called me and she's like, I'm joining the Marines. And I was like, okay, good thing I surrendered you. But I could be with her in that moment and hear her purpose in doing it, and really like take it in and get on the same energy with her.
Yeah.
Had released all that control. It's not even control. I had released my perceived control.
Mm.
Gave everybody to who they belong to, because they don't belong to me. They came through me, but that does not make them belonging to me. You know.
Mm.
So giving everybody over to God, universe, source, whatever, was so peaceful and cleaning. Like it just scrubbed me.
Yeah.
It was like I don't even like to say it sometimes because I don't want to say like putting stuff out into the universe, when it's like, it's like I
Hmm.
have to get to a place where it's like no matter what, they belong to something outside of me, no matter what, no matter, like, I still can't even say it, but you know what I'm saying? No matter what,
Yeah.
even day and time now, it's like no matter what, they don't belong to me.
Yeah.
With everything going on, with
Mm.
all this stuff going in the arms and just everything. It's like you just really have to release them to
Hmm.
whatever their soul contract is.
Hmm. Wow, yeah. I got goosebumps. You're talking about that process of surrender. I feel like we just really have to like I feel like I maybe had a similar experience in that this belief that everything is perfect and like trusting that like just like truly trusting, like you're saying that like they're gonna be safe no matter what, like this is it's not my job to keep them safe. It's not my job to tell them what to do. Like just truly like surrendering to that. Like for me, I feel like that came from like it's almost like I didn't have any other choice but to believe that. Like getting to a point like you were just sharing of there's been a lot of um there's been a lot of shit that's come up in the last 2 years, and it's been very intense a couple of times, and it was certainly very intense in my body, experiencing everything that was going on. And it's sort of like, it just sort of felt like I don't have any other choice but to just accept that everything is perfect and that like everything is going, I don't even want to say that everything's going to be okay, but just like, yeah, like that everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to. Because like the alternative was like, I'm going to be in a constant state of fear. I'm
Yes.
going to be in this constant state of trying to control, which is just, it's so heavy and constricting and like literally like makes you sick. Like you're like, I mean, from that perspective, it's like if I didn't just truly surrender, it's like I would be killing myself, that I'm not actually living. I'm just living in this state of fear that is slowly eating away at my body. And yeah.
So true. So true. You're speaking right into my heart.
I think that like a lot of people are like I'm very grateful to have like come into this space when I did. Like I'm so grateful to have had the experiences that I had to like get to a point where I did just choose to surrender, like, and I'm so grateful and happy for you that like you had that experience where you were just able to surrender. Like obviously it was so powerful and it's like still impacting you because I I often look around at people, like I go to the grocery store or whatever. I want to be like, I go into the matrix, I go into like the real world, whatever you want to call it. And I just see so many people who are just so in fear. And honestly, like I feel so much compassion. Like I've really come into a place of like not judging people for what their choice is, especially if they're choosing something because it's making them feel safe. Part of me is like, if that's what makes you feel safe, maybe that is the best thing for you. If that means you're not going to be in this state of fear, then who am I to say that that was the wrong choice? Um, but yeah, I see so many people in this state of fear, and it really does feel like the way that I see it now is like we can be when you're in that state of fear, you're living a life just being scared of dying, which means that you're not actually living. And like I just have really come into a space like this is a new space for me to be holding where I'm really like I am choosing to live a life where I'm focused on living. And truly, like if that means like I don't we don't know when we could die. We have no idea. We have no idea. We have no control. It doesn't matter what you get put in your arm. It doesn't matter what you put on your face. It doesn't matter. Anything could happen. And like I feel very like I have just made the choice that like if that means that I die in a week because I didn't do things that I'm being told I'm supposed to do by like, our government people, then that's what was supposed to happen. Like who am I to even say if that's right or wrong, Like it for me the option is I'm choosing to live my life and otherwise I would be choosing to live in fear and that's not living and I am content with that decision.
Yes, that makes so much sense. Yeah, we're not guaranteed a second. And I don't know if you know this. I had two tornadoes come through and just tear my house down while I was in them. So,
Wow.
and then a couple other events in between. So they were each 9 years apart in two different cities, two different homes.
Wow.
So my brain has really picked up on anything can happen. Anything can happen. There are no guarantees. So if you're in fear, you are just exactly what you said. If you are in fear, you are not living.
Mhm.
And then I also have these nervous system hits that I've taken from this tornado and some other issues. So,
Yeah, wow.
like, you know, I guess maybe there's something in going ahead and just feeling all the fear all the way through so it goes, so it
Mm.
actually not like holding it, holding it, holding it. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe that's some work for me to do is just to just like let it come out. Maybe
Mhm.
write it down, verbalize it, something, and just like get it out and dispel the spell that it has on me. Because my nervous system is like got this stuff like really held.
Yeah.
Because once my post traumatic stress from the first tornado ended, and I went to bed that night going, I've already had a tornado. I'm good. God's not going to do that again. We're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And And then I went to sleep and heard screaming, and then, was like, oh, we are doing this again. you know,
Wow.
I sat in
Yeah.
the basement going, okay, 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 we're doing this. This is happening. My home is being destroyed. I could hear all the same noises. And
Wow.
so just to me, anything can happen now. And I don't say, like, I've learned this from experience when I used to say everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be okay. I don't know that.
Mhm.
Why? How? Everything is gonna be what it is,
Yeah.
and I might not be okay with it for a minute or two or 7 or 12, but
Everything's going to be okay because you're going to be capable of handling whatever comes your way.
yes, that's perfect. Yes, yes, we are all fully capable, and we forget that.
Mhm.
Well, I know I forget that sometimes. And I know there was a book called "Everything Is Handleable" or something, and uh, so that's something that I remind myself. I used to be scared to even take like road trips because something's going to happen, because something has happened sometimes on those road trips. And then I go,
Yeah.
but it was handleable.
Yeah.
When my tire popped, I got a new tire. When, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it didn't kill me. It's
Yeah.
an inconvenience that I made into this giant, giant thing.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, I am a firm believer and knower that anything can happen. And just
Yeah.
because it happens once doesn't mean it won't happen twice. And
You're
all,
like, trust me.
yeah, my neighbors are like, I don't want to live next to you anymore. But yeah, we're not guaranteed anything.
Mhm.
Anything. So that really hit home when you said that. Just like keep living. And I know that you're doing things like free diving.
Yeah.
Living. That is like going to the depths.
Yeah. Yeah, and talk about facing your fears because I used to be totally afraid of the water and this has been like totally afraid of the water since I was like 4 years old, you know. Um yeah, and that you were saying like, maybe I should just like let all that fear out, or like let it be all expressed or all spoken. And I really feel like I feel like that is shadow work. It's just like letting it come out and then you actually like I think it's so that you can come into this place of acceptance, but like even more simple than that, I feel like just saying it is like acknowledging it and then like I always I notice with fear, it's like the idea of something is so much worse than it actually happening. Because, like, when you're in it, you just handle it, you just deal with it,
Yeah.
you know? And,
Yeah.
like, and maybe that means that you have to deal with it for years later because you couldn't handle all of it at one time. And, like, that's okay too.
Mm, yeah. Wow. Lots of pearls, lots of gold in this conversation, I think.
I'm like, I'm gonna have to listen to this again. Let it all sink in.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Is there anything else? Is there anything more?
Mm. I just want to like invite the listeners and you into like coming to acceptance of your body and your body being this like incredibly sophisticated like technology. Like I just want to like take a moment to like honor our bodies and like I think we really have gotten into it in this conversation of like the mechanics of it. Like I think it can sound so like simple to be like, your body is intelligent or your body's a temple. I feel like it sounds very surface level, but like we talked about the DNA, we talked about the restructuring of the waters and our brains and everything, and then like embodying it. Like these bodies are so fucking cool, like, and are so amazing, and like, I mean, just like think about how much quote junk DNA we have, how much DNA we have that's like not even activated yet, like I just want to invite everybody into just like opening your mind to really like your body is literally capable of everything. Your body is capable of healing itself. Your body is capable of like doing things that like I hope that I feel like we will learn within our lifetime that like we can't even imagine. And I think that just like being open to it, just like cracking that door a little bit like allows for all that beauty to just like start pouring in.
There's so much science, like epigenetics and stuff, supporting all of that too. Just like we really are when we get to that point where we're completely activated.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for too, isn't it?
Yeah. And we're gonna love the whole process, even though it's gonna suck sometimes, and we're gonna be like, why is this happening? But we're gonna handle it. And it's just all of it's beautiful. Even the shit stuff, It's all part of this extraordinary life that we get to live.
Hmm. Oh my goodness, yes. Gosh, thank you so much. Like so,
You're welcome.
yeah. Can you like tell us how people can, unless there's more. Do you have more? Because if there's more, there's more.
No, I feel pretty complete.
Me too. Can you tell people how to find you and just like give, blurt
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my the place I'm most active is on Instagram. My handle is emerald.earth.empress. Um and yeah, ways that you can work with me. I'm always offering one-on-one sessions, which I kind of talked about in during our discussion today. Those are always available. I am actually increasing the price the start of the year. So if you feel called to work with me, there I call them sacred reflection sessions. So just an invitation to get on it if you like that exchange rate. And I actually just created an embodiment meditation that is intended for women or people with wombs. So if you just want like a little taste of what it might be like to be in container with me, that's a really like accessible offering. And this is the first time I'm doing a drop about this. My business partner, Jesse, and I are in the process of creating a retreat that will be very much so along the same lines of what we've been talking about today, and just like allowing ourselves to be like our authentic expression, that we are going to do at the end of January. So looking to continue to do more like group spaces, and hopefully like in person would be really ideal. So the best way that you can like learn about all this stuff is to join my newsletter, which I believe we're going to link in the show notes. So
All of them.
yeah,
This retreat, are you talking about? Is it going to be in person or is it going to be both?
it's going to be in person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where am I going at the end of January?
Yeah. We're excited about it. It'll be the first retreat that we've done together, and I feel like it's the start of something new and exciting, and we're both very excited about it.
It's going to be amazing. Tell everybody what your podcast is called.
Yeah, Jesse and I have a podcast called Contemplative State. You can listen to it on Spotify, on anything that plays podcasts, I'm sure, just like this one. And you can also find the link to that and the link to my newsletter in my bio, my link in my bio on Instagram. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful that you said yes and that we had this conversation. I have a lot of feels. I had a lot of feels before we started, and they're different now. It's more. I have some peace. Like I have some peace in my heart, just knowing that I am in this space, and it's okay. It is where I am, and accepting that.
Yeah.
So, I guess my first step to embodiment.
You're already, yeah. We're always in a process of embodiment. I don't know that we ever get to a point where we're like fully embodied. I think it's a continual practice of self-acceptance.
Yeah, Ivy always says we're always mid-process.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much more to learn. I mean,
Hmm.
so much more.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on this. It's been really enjoyable to share in this space with you, and yeah.
Yes. All right, we're gonna say bye, but you stay. Much love to everybody. Make sure that you check Makenna out. Make sure, well, not make sure, but I invite you to share this podcast, share the YouTube, and just people that that are looking for some awakening, looking for some ideas on embodiment. Researchers, spiritual workers, light workers, all of us, we're all like gleaning information from each other. So share. And with that, I say we love you. Hydrate yourselves.
Drink your water.
Water. And goodbye.